If your doctor said any of these 5 things about your neuropathy, you need to find a new doctor immediately. Let's start with the most triggering one. You're just going to have to live with it. What I'm about to tell you might make you a little angry, but it might also save you years of unnecessary suffering because your doctor just isn't being honest with you. Not because they're cruel, but because they literally have nothing else in their toolbox to offer you. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why doctors say these dangerous things, and most importantly, what you can do about it when conventional medicine gives up on you. I see patients every single week who come into my office and tell me the exact same story. They went to their primary care doctor with numbness, tingling, burning in their feet. They got sent to a neurologist. They ran expensive tests. They got a diagnosis: peripheral neuropathy, sometimes idiopathic neuropathy. And then they were handed a prescription for Gabapentin and sent home with basically, good luck, hope it doesn't get worse. But it probably will. Now here's what nobody tells you. That's not a treatment plan, that's a surrender. And you don't have to accept it. My name is Dr. Sinan Gocman, and I've spent years helping people reverse conditions that other doctors said were permanent. Not because I'm special, but because I have a functional, regenerative approach that actually addresses root causes instead of just masking symptoms. Let's start with the most dangerous phrase doctors say. You're just going to have to live with it. And here's what they're really telling you. The phrase isn't compassion. It's dismissal disguised as realism. I hear this from my patients all the time. They were told by their doctor, this is just it. Expect it to get worse. This is about as good as it gets, and it's about as ever gonna get. And they leave feeling that disappointment, that hopelessness, like they did something wrong, like their body has betrayed them. But here's what's really happening. Your doctor knows conventional medicine has no effective solution for neuropathy, so instead of admitting that, they frame your condition as untreatable. They make it sound like this is just a natural course of aging or disease, when in reality, it's the natural course of not addressing root causes. Let me walk you through the conveyor belt system. So you go to your primary care doctor, they send you to a neurologist, you run expensive tests, you get a diagnosis, peripheral neuropathy, idiopathic neuropathy, and then you're handed a prescription for Gabapentin and told, good luck. That's it. That's the system. And when you hear you'll have to live with it, what they're really saying is, I've done everything for you that I know how to do, and I don't have anything else for you. But that's not a medical conclusion. That's a sign you need to find a provider who specializes in regenerative, functional approaches that conventional medicine just doesn't teach. Because when you treat neuropathy from that perspective, when you address circulation, inflammation, nerve health, metabolic dysfunction, you can stop the progression. In many cases, you can reverse it. So when your doctor says you'll have to live with it, what I want you to hear is they don't have a solution for you. But that doesn't mean a solution doesn't exist. Just try walking. Well, this one just drives me absolutely crazy because it shows a fundamental misunderstanding of what neuropathy actually does to your body. I can't tell you how many patients have told me this. They go in with severe nerve pain, numbness, balance issues, and their doctor just says, just try walking, get some exercise. And look, I'm not anti-walking. Movement is crucially, vitally important. But when that's the only advice you're given, it reveals a complete misunderstanding of what neuropathy does to your body. So here's the problem. If you have severe neuropathy, you might not have proper sensation in your feet. You might not feel the ground beneath you. You might have balance issues, gait problems, muscle weakness. And when you just try walking without addressing those underlying issues first, you're at serious risk for falls, injuries, and further damage. Walking without fixing the foundation is like trying to run a marathon on a broken leg. You're not healing, you're just moving on top of dysfunction. So what's missing from that advice is why walking is painful or difficult in the first place. It's the nerve damage, it's the poor circulation, it's the inflammation, it's the balance issues, and none of those things get fixed by walking alone. Doctors default to generic wellness because they don't have a specific protocol for nerve regeneration. It's easier to say, just try walking, than to admit, I don't know how to help you restore your nerve function. So here's what this means for you. Walking can be a part of recovery, but only after you've addressed the underlying nerve damage and dysfunction. Otherwise, you're just moving on a broken foundation, and that doesn't lead to healing. If Gabapentin is the only thing your doctor offered you, you need to understand what that actually is and what it isn't. Gabapentin is probably the most commonly prescribed medication for neuropathy, and I get it. When you're in pain, you want relief. But here's what nobody explains to you when they hand you that prescription. Gabapentin doesn't heal nerve damage. It doesn't stop progression. It doesn't address root causes. What it does is dull the signal so you feel pain less. And often, not even that effectively. The doctors know this. They know that it's just going to be ineffective. They know it causes a whole other host of side effects: dizziness, fatigue, weight gain, brain fog, dependency, but it's the only tool in their toolbox, so they prescribe it anyway. And here's the real problem: while you're on gabapentin, masking symptoms, the underlying nerve damage is often still progressing. You're numbing yourself to the pain while the condition gets worse underneath. That's not treatment, that's symptom management. And there's a big difference. Now, I'm not saying gabapentin is evil. For some people, it takes the edge off just enough to function. But if that's all you're doing, you're not addressing circulation, inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, nerve health, then you're not stopping the progression. You're just making it more comfortable to decline. So here's what this means for you. If your doctor handed you gabapentin and said, good luck, they're not treating your neuropathy. They're managing your symptoms while the condition continues, and you deserve better than that. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, okay, I've heard all these things from my doctor, well, what do I do now? I want to help you. So I put together a free guide that breaks down the exact root causes of neuropathy that conventional doctors miss, and the proven protocol we use to stop progression and in many cases, reverse damage. Link is in the description below. Or if you're in the Quad Cities area and you want to see if you're a candidate for my program, you can call my office directly. Your doctor diagnosed you with idiopathic neuropathy. Do you know what that word actually means? Because once you do, you'll understand why you're stuck. Let's talk about this word, idiopathic. It sounds official, right? It sounds like a real diagnosis, but here's what it actually means. Idiopathic literally means we don't know the cause. That's it. That's the diagnosis. You have nerve damage, we have no idea why. And here's the kicker. Once you get that label, you're sent down a typical conveyor belt. You get your conclusive diagnosis of peripheral neuropathy or idiopathic neuropathy, and then you're handed gabapentin and told, good luck, hope it doesn't get worse, but it probably will. Think about that for a second. If your doctor doesn't know the cause, how can they possibly treat it effectively? How can they stop progression if they don't know what's driving it? How can they reverse damage if they don't understand where it's coming from? They can't, and that's why you're stuck. But here's what makes me so frustrated about this. Most idiopathic cases have identifiable root causes. When you look deeper: metabolic dysfunction, chronic inflammation, poor circulation, toxin exposures, nutrient deficiencies, autoimmune triggers. These things don't show up on standard neurology tests, but they're there. And when you address them, the neuropathy improves. So here's what that means for you. An idiopathic diagnosis isn't the end of the road. It's a sign you need a provider who will dig deeper into root causes instead of just labeling your condition as mystery and sending you home with a whole bunch of pills. And here's the most dangerous thing your doctor will say: expect it to get worse. Because when you believe that, you stop looking for solutions. This is the one that breaks my heart the most. Because when your doctor tells you this is just, expect it to get worse, this is about as good as it gets, they're not just giving you a prognosis, they're giving you a belief system. And that belief system keeps you and millions others stuck. Here's why doctors say this: because in their experience, with the tools that they have, gabapentin, symptom management, no regenerative protocols, neuropathy does typically get worse. They've seen it happen over and over again in their practices. So they are preparing you for what they think is inevitable. But here's the truth: neuropathy progression isn't inevitable. It's the result of not addressing root causes. I've worked with hundreds of patients who were told to expect decline. And when we put into play proven, battle-tested protocols, when we take that functional, objective, regenerative look at their condition, we can help begin to slow down, stop the progression. In some cases, even able to reverse it. Now, it truly depends on how severe the condition is. It depends on how compliant, how motivated the person is. Not everyone gets the same results, but the idea that decline is guaranteed, that's not true. What's guaranteed is that if you don't address root causes, if you don't support nerve health and circulation and metabolic function, then yes, it will probably get worse. But that's not a medical inevitability. That's the natural course of untreated neuropathy. But here's what this means for you. If your doctor told you expect decline, they're describing what happens in their system with their tools. They're not describing what's possible when you actually address root causes. So to recap, when your doctor says you'll have to live with it, they're really saying they don't have a solution for you. But that doesn't mean a solution doesn't exist. When they hand you gabapentin and send you home, they're not treating your neuropathy, they're managing your symptoms while the damage continues. And when they tell you to expect it to get worse, they're describing what happens when you don't address root causes, not what's actually possible. And here's what I want you to take away from this. You are not a lost cause. Your condition is not hopeless. You just need a different approach. Because when you treat neuropathy from a functional and regenerative perspective, when you address circulation, inflammation, nerve health, metabolic dysfunction, you can stop the progression. And again, in many cases, you can reverse it. It depends on how severe your condition is and how motivated you are to follow a proven protocol, but it's possible. In my next video, I'm going to walk you through the exact root causes of neuropathy that conventional doctors miss, and why addressing these is the key to actually stopping and reversing nerve damage. If you've been told your neuropathy is idiopathic or untreatable, you need to watch that video.